My desire is to know you deeper. Lord, I will open up again, throw my fears into the wind. I am desperate for a touch of heaven. Hi, everybody. My name is Bunga Subisi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you do not know me, and this melody, this song keeps stirring up in my heart every time I learn something new about God. Every time, like, I just see something inspiring, something good, I feel this melody just stirring up because it's something good. And this is why I'm singing it today, because today I learned something good. Today I learned something inspiring. Today I learned something that made me want to open up to God once again and say, I'll throw my fears into the wind and I will just look unto you. So, small disclaimer, we are load shedding. We are in South Africa, so growing got no electricity right now, but thanks to the rechargeable lights, we are still alive. And yeah, I didn't want to go to bed without delivering this message. I didn't want to go to bed without telling you guys what I learned today in church, because like it's one of those things that you know when a child comes back from school and they're just excited to tell you what they learned. Okay, before these lights go out, because they're gonna last for like a good hour or so, let's just get into it. So, but I'm very excited. Like, I know you can see it. And I also didn't want good makeup to go to waste because I was looking all good today in church. Okay? So, what did girl learn today in church that got her so excited like this? Okay. So today, amongst other things that one of my pastors were teaching about, it was he said something so profound, like really something that I resonated with. He said, did you know that your obedience could save another person's life? Did you know that your obedience could help somebody else? Now, I know somebody might be thinking, like, okay, here she goes. She's the Holy One, and she's the one who's got it all together, and she's the one who wants to be obedient. No. But I want to tell you of a story of a young woman whom, after college, had no job, had no place to stay. And it wasn't because I did not have like family, but it was because family decided to desert me. And I want to tell you this story because my message today, let me put it like this. The name of my topic for today is the beatings of a loving God. I usually hear people talking a lot about the beating of the devil or the beating of the enemy, but it's so less of a time whereby I hear people saying or talking about the beatings of a loving God. Usually hear when people are saying, have you been out there doing the beatings of the enemy? Well, today I'm here to tell you about the beatings of my God. So we're going to start it off from the scripture of the First Corinthians, where Paul was talking to the Corinthian church. And on the First Corinthians, it's on, I think, not that I think, it is on chapter 15, verse 58. And he says in the scripture, therefore, my beloved brethren, be steadfast, unmovable, always abiding in the work of the Lord, for as much as you know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. Now, I think when Paul was telling the Corinthian church to do this, he already had an understanding of where does all this goodness go to. Like, do you ever wonder, like, why do we even bother? Have you ever heard, like, people say, oh my goodness, why do I even bother? I'll tell you why you should bother. So here I am. I just graduated in varsity, which I didn't even get to go to the graduation because of a lot of things that, like, literally made sure that I don't get there on time. So I've graduated. I got the qualification, and everybody who was like a sponsor in my family, which was my grandmother and my dad in that midst, and everybody decided, you know what, we've done enough for you. You can now go and fend for yourself. And at that time, not that I didn't want to do it, but I didn't have the means to do it. I was still searching for a job, and my grandmother decided, you know what, I'm out of here. And not a lot of people know that because not a lot of people stayed in contact with me when I was in varsity. So what happens then? So here I am, I'm going to church every day, like every Sunday, not every day. I'm going to church every Sunday, and this is, mind you, a new church because it's not a church from back home. It's a church in the city of Joburg. And in the city of Joburg, you don't even know what kind of church this is until you're there for a long time. And this church, particularly, how we got there with me and my friend, long story. I'll tell you another day. But it wasn't long. I hadn't known the pastors for so long, and the church was moving, and it was moving from Joburg town into Randburg. And as we were moving like that, I didn't have a place to stay because my grandmother decided to stop paying for the rent, decided to stop just helping me out until I get a job. And I went to my senior pastors, I went to the first lady, and I said, is there anything that you could help me with in terms of shelter? I'll work if I have to, just in return for like shelter. And my senior pastor smiled and she said, you know, I have this place, but it's near the airport. And I think, I don't know if the planes will bother you. And in my mind, I'm like, gosh, does she really think I care about airplanes right now? I only care about a place to stay, and I just need a roof over my head until I get a job and I can stand on my own 2 feet because I was responsible when it comes to spending, stuff like that. And so my senior pastors decide they're gonna let me stay in one of their properties that they have purchased here in Fourways. I'm not gonna say where. Here in Fourways, and I stayed there. And they didn't know me. They didn't know me. They didn't know where I'm from. They didn't know who are my parents. They didn't even know who brought me into the church. They just knew that I am in the church now, and I've been in the church for more than a year now. And long story short, I'm still coming to this, okay? When we are obedient to the Lord, today, when one of my pastors was preaching, and he was talking about the fact that your obedience helps someone else some way. You may not know where, but it's helping somebody in some way. He even went further to say things that used to be human problems are now called social problems. And I was like, that is the truth because it starts with one human being. If I'm disobedient in the little that I'm given and I'm not trustworthy with the little that I'm giving, hence load shedding. Now you would have to wonder what kind of a person who would go to the stage of whereby we are load shedding because there's just literally not enough. But how was there not enough from beginning? There was not enough from beginning because somebody started stealing. Somebody somewhere decided theft was the type of disobedience they would choose, and hence load shedding. And hence, there are people right now who are being mugged somewhere, we don't know where, but because of load shedding. Hence, there is somebody who died somewhere because they lit up a generator, and that generator had chemicals and it wasn't serviced, and so it blew up and the person died. Now, I'm trying to show you what it looks like when we disobey. And I'll put myself in them. Here's the thing. So, not that I'm perfect. We all have our imperfections. And in our imperfections, we do the bidding of the enemy. In the things, in the choices that we choose to make, those are the biddings of the enemy because they propel evil, or they propel something bad that will hurt the next person. And I want to tell you a story how I started. I was dating this guy, rich guy, had everything. And because at the time when I was dating this guy, I didn't have much. And I was at a low place in my life. I was jobless. I was just finishing off varsity. And when we started dating, this person was kind. And then I thought, oh no, this person loves me. And, you know, because we used to party with this person, we used to drink with this person, I, I did not at that time realize that those are the beatings of the enemy. And here is the price I paid. This is what the guy said when we were sitting now. And I said it out of nowhere. I wasn't broke. And I had money in my flat. I said, oh my goodness, I am craving hot wings, dunked hot wings. Have you ever had that craving? That's exactly how I said it. And he said, yeah. Ne? You are here just for my money. You are here just because you want this money. And the only way to get this money is if you sleep with me. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I should have known that it would come to this because this person is far more richer than me. And they think that I'm coming from a background of poverty and this is why I want their money. But honestly, from my father's side, I grew up with everything. I grew up with the boarding school lifestyle. I had the money, I had access to it, so I knew how to be responsible with it. And this person is out here thinking that I just want to spend his money. So I said to him, I had to be brutal with him. I said, you think I want your money? I don't want your money. In fact, I'll go back now to my flat. I'll get my card and I'll go get myself hot wings. Now, that was before my grandmother had abandoned me after varsity. It was when I was still in varsity. And I was like, I'm not desperate for hot wings because I don't know them. I know them. I was just telling you, expressing something that I'm thinking of right now. I want hot wings. But now that we're in the topic of us having to talk about how much you have and how much I don't have, I'll tell you this. I grew up with money. I had it. I had access to all of it. The savings that saved me when my laptop was broken, that was excess of money that I was saving because I just didn't have use for it at that time. And this guy started feeling guilty, and I was like, you know what? Thank you for being in my life, for teaching me a lesson. And I left. Got out of his car. I went home. And I realize now that stupid, stupid decision that I made to go out partying and date this person and thinking that he's gonna treat me well. Kanti, we are both busy doing the biddings of the enemy. He thinks he's gonna get to have me in bed because he's got money. And I thought this person is looking for love, like I am looking for love. Hence, this is why I call it the bidding of the enemy, because I went about looking for love in the wrong way. But we're not there. We're not there. We are here. So, what got me thinking about the beating of a loving God is this. Besides this scripture here, one of the things that came to me was the grace of God over my life. One of the first things that people always tell me when I tell them how I got to varsity is that you have to be with your parents in order to register, in order to get accommodation, in order to get admission into the school. Now, I'll tell you a funny story. My grandmother was overseas and nobody was helping me with all those things. She was just putting in the money and I was securing the admission, securing the accommodation myself. And some people are like, how did you manage to get that? And I'm like, I just went and I asked. I asked when I got to the office way to secure the accommodation. I asked, what does it take for me to get accommodation? And they told me that they need a 6 months bank statement. I was like, okay, I have that. And they're like, do you work? I said, no, I don't work, but I can assure you that you will have your money every month because I get money every month from my parents, which is my grandmother. And even in school, same thing. I just asked. And by those people giving me a chance, by those people being a good enough citizen to say, I'll give you the book, the memo of how to get accommodation, of how to get admission into the school. All you have to do is to just comply. And that's exactly what I did. I complied to everything that they said. And I got the admission, I got the accommodation. But now when I'm looking back, I can see that it can only be the graces of God and the people that God had put in my way. And even though they didn't know that they were doing something good, they knew that they were doing something good, yeah, but they didn't know that the goodness of their heart is the beating of a loving God. And God blesses that. And now, when I'm looking at it from this side, it happens every time. Like every time for me. I don't know how other people it happens for them, but for me, whenever I ask God and I say, God, I do not have groceries in my house, or I say, God, please help me with electricity money. This is where the difference comes in between the beating of the enemy and doing the beatings of a loving God. When I ask things from my God, He sends somebody to do it. He sent somebody to do his biddings for him. And I'm saying his biddings because God is always trying to woo us back into his love. He's always trying to tell us, come back to me. I can make it better. I can heal you. I can fulfill your heart. Whatever that is missing, I can fulfill it. Here is what happens when God is doing when a person is doing the biddings for God. I've noticed this a lot of times. Whenever I ask for God for food, I don't just get like rice and curry or up and maybe just cabbage. No, guys. When God sends somebody to do his biddings over my life, this is what God has done for me. I've seen God touching people's hearts to say, would you buy her food? Just out of no way. Somebody would go like, oh, well, can we please go? And I'm like, where are we going? And they're like, I just want us to go into ShopRite. And I'm like, what are we doing there? And they're like, I just want us to get a few things. When last did we go shopping for a few things? It has happened. My friend has done that just out of the blue. And she didn't know that my fridge was empty. It has also happened one time. Me and my partner, my boyfriend, was sitting at the fire. We were just it was load shedding like tonight, and we were just sitting by the fire outside. And one of the tenants, because they own like a building on the side of the house whereby tenants rent, and one of the tenants comes out and says, guys, what's happening? And we're like, no, we're just sitting here by the fire. And this person didn't know that I didn't have food in my fridge because we were just sitting there laughing, having tea. And he goes like, oh man, this is boring. You're just sitting in the fire. Guys, come on. Can we please go? Can we please go to the butchery? I need us to just fry meat, like lots of meat. We're like, there's only 3 of us. There's no need for that. He's like, no, guys, you don't understand. I want us to fry a lot of meat. I want us to eat meat here from the fire. And I'm like, look at you. There you go again, God. There you go again, doing your beatings, sending somebody to do your beatings here. And this guy, I will not lie to you. We ate meat. He took some meat home. We took some meat home. And there was still meat on the fry stand. And that's when God sends a person to do his biddings. That's when I know that God has sent this person to do their biddings. I've seen it when God touched my pastor's hearts to literally give me a whole house to stay there free, rent free. Even though they didn't know me, even though they didn't know if I am a drug addict or an alcoholic or what, but because God sent them to do the beatings, to do his beatings, they went all out. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say I've been a receiver of obedience, of the goodness of people's obedience. I have been a receiver of that. One time I was going door to door, which is something really risky. I used to go door to door, clean people's houses. And this guy who owns like taxis plus like a shop, like a restaurant, I got to his house and he said, can you clean? I said, yes, I'm asking for a job to clean. And that guy could have done anything to me because he was staying alone in his house. But he chose to keep my safety. He chose to keep my innocence and keep me safe, and say, okay, fine, you will clean. Once you're done cleaning, you don't even have to stay. You just put away the key. I'll come and I'll open once I'm back. And this is a guy who didn't know God. This is a person who didn't know God. But what I'm trying to say to you is that when God sends somebody to do his biddings, he goes all out. And if you don't believe that when you do biddings for God, he will reward you, or if you don't believe that it touches the heart, just know that I am a testimony of somebody's obedience. That guy chose to not do anything bad to me, but give me food and give me money to sustain my day-to-day life. That person would just come to his house and say, when you take all this meat, I need it out. I need it out. I'll get more meat. And I was like, God, where are you finding these people? Where are you finding these people with so much love, with so much grace, with so much patience? And that touches me till today. I still don't mind doing something good for another person because I've seen the mercies. You know the song, Mercy Rewrote My Life? That's me. I am a testimony of those goodness, of all the goodness that these people have done into my life. And this is why I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to do it for somebody else. Yes, they may not be thankful right now and they may not thank me. But man, what it changes on the inside. Man, the work that you have done on the inside, the seed that you have planted, you've planted a seed of hope. You've planted a seed of redemption when you do the biddings of God. Goodness circulates all around. Not just for you, but what you spread there will circulate and touch another heart and touch another heart. And then suddenly goodness just spreads because you did the biddings of a loving God. So I want to say to you, don't stop doing good, because receivers receive it. Receivers like me see it, feel it, and want to do more for others. From me to you, I want to tell you, mercy really did rewrite my life. The people who had mercy on me and gave me shelter, that was mercy. That was God rewriting my life. The people who chose not to hurt me, but to always just give me money. I used to have this guy when I was staying at the flat back right after I was done with varsity, and I started going to my church, my current church. And this guy was such a drunkard, guys. He was such a drunkard. But every Sunday morning, he would slip 200 rands with a note saying, don't forget to pray for me. And it said, this is transport money for church. Because one day when he saw me taking out the trash, he asked me, how come you're here at this time? It was around 10. And I said, I don't have money to go to church, so I didn't go today. And so this stranger, this drunkard who always had money, decided that if it's for church, I'm just telling you guys, I don't want to cry in this video, but I want to tell you that mercy really did rewrite my life. This guy would literally slip money under my door and say, here's transport money. And the note would always come and say, don't forget to pray for me. My sister, one of my sisters used to stay with me. We used to call the guy party pooper because he's always having parties and he would be just like, and we'd be like, yeah, he's a party pooper because he's disturbing our peace. And my sister knows the guy, and she witnessed this with me because she would come over and she'd see my fridge very empty, and she would be like, how are you living? And I'm like, I point next door to the goodness of a stranger who didn't know me but chose to give me transport money for church. Your good deeds, you being a good citizen, you doing good for others, plants a seed, and a good seed. I pray that one day when God multiplies and blesses the work of my hands, that I may not forget the biddings of a loving God that He did through those people, because He would just send those people to do His biddings on His behalf on my life. I pray to God one day that He also sends me out there with that wealth to do His biddings on His behalf for other people, because I've seen the good work that it does in a person, and this is why my heart remains pure regardless. This is why my heart remains hopeful with love regardless. Regardless of how bad, of how cruel people can be out there. But I do not discount the goodness of a God who sends His people to do His biddings on His behalf. I love you. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and also comment down below. Tell me what miracle you have seen from God, because these are my miracles that I've seen from God. I've seen more. I understand what they mean when they say mountains are still being moved, giants are still being slain, because I have seen it in my life. Even my very job, my current job right now that I am in, it was from the graces of people who are sent by God to do His biddings on behalf of Him in my life. Don't forget to do good. Good still does a lot in this world. It still changes hearts. It still changes lives. So from me to you, I love you. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and also comment down below what has been your miracle. Whom has God sent unto your life to do His biddings? Because He's the best. When it's Him, like guys, I tell you, when I say, God, I need food, He doesn't even choose like the lowest of food. He chooses top quality, like serious good food. When I say I need a place to stay, He doesn't choose like a shed. He chooses the best for me. Ask Him again. I still believe in this God. From me to you, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and comment down below. See ya!